Hello, my name is Raven Morgan, and I'm currently a junior majoring in international studies at UNC Charlotte. My concentration is in peace, conflict, and identity. I'm going to answer a few questions today about why I chose this as my major, globalization and cultural exchange.
Hello, my name is Shemai Leathers, and my question is what was one of the main factors that contributed in your decision to become an international studies major?
So the first question I got was, what were one of the main factors that contributed to your decision to become an international studies major? I believe one of the main factors that contributed to my decision of becoming this major was my deep interest in global affairs, politics, and government, and how countries interact at an international level. From a young age, I was always fascinated by different nations and how they shape the world we live in. And I believe it naturally evolved into my passion for understanding the complexities of international relations, diplomacy, and public service. I chose UNC Charlotte because I'm from North Carolina, one, and I also wanted a school that had this specific major. So I'm able to take courses about globalization, international human rights, political diplomacy, all which have further solidified my passion to pursue a degree in international studies. And I also want to make an impact on the world at an international level, not just a local level. And yeah.
In what ways do you think cultural exchange can help resolve international conflicts?
So my second question was, in what ways do you think cultural exchange can help resolve international conflicts? And I believe this is a really good question. I think cultural exchange is crucial when it comes to resolving international conflicts because it fosters a sense of understanding and it breaks down stereotypes when it comes to people from different cultures, backgrounds, etc. When you're interacting with one another, you gain firsthand experience of each other's values, customs, and perspectives. And this is important because it builds empathy and it gets rid of the us versus them mentality, which often fuels conflict. I think a great way to immerse yourself in other cultures is doing cultural exchange programs, whether that's educational or internships, and it allows you to see people beyond just their political association. You can really focus on the human experience. Um, as a result, I think exchange is great. It serves as a bridge that can ease tensions and promote mutual respect for one another and create a foundation for peaceful negotiations.
How do you think globalization has impacted cultural exchange and the conservation of local traditions in various countries?
My third question was, how do you think globalization has impacted cultural exchange and the conservation of traditions and countries? Um, I believe this question is a very good question as well, and it's also a hot topic in the international community. Globalization has served both positive and negative impacts on the world, and I'm sure you all have talked about that in Dr. Butler's class. Um, on one hand, it has accelerated cultural exchange. People can communicate a lot easier across borders. We can share traditions, languages, and customs thanks to technology and international travel. And I believe this has led to greater appreciation for diversity worldwide. However, you want a culture to be appreciated, not appropriated. So, saying that, on the other hand, globalization also represents challenges to the conservation of local traditions and the dominance of global culture, particularly Western influence. It can sometimes overshadow or even dilute a culture's originality, customs, and the actual substance of a culture. Um, so that's like the downside of it. But overall, I believe balancing cultural exchange and with the preservation of local identity requires conscious efforts, to sustain and to appreciate traditional practices, even in a very interconnected world.
Is it true that you are at a disadvantage if you were born in a third world country versus if you were born in a first world country?
Question 4 says, is it true that you were at a disadvantage if you were born in a third world country versus a first world country? So I assume when you're saying a disadvantage, you mean not having the same opportunities compared to other parts of the world. And I believe it is a disadvantage. That is true. And you can even see that in a smaller scale, like even in the US with different communities, races. Um, but I believe while being born in a third world country can present more challenges such as limited access to resources, education, infrastructure. It doesn't necessarily mean someone is at a disadvantage in terms of their potential or ability to succeed. Many individuals from developing countries are very resilient, have a lot of innovation and determination, which can direct them to get through the obstacles. Moreover, I believe globalization and international cooperation have made it possible for people from third world countries to access opportunities that can level the playing field, although I will say it is a lot harder and it's not at the same competitiveness. It's probably a lot harder. And I'm sure Dr. Butler has talked about how where you come from can play a big role in where you go in life. But ultimately, while one starting point may differ, if their personal drive and access to international opportunities, they can get through that, it will bridge that gap for sure.
What role do you believe globalization has played in the growth of communities?
The last question I received was, what role do you believe globalization has played in the growth of community? So I believe globalization has expanded in the concept of community beyond local or national borders, to include a global dimension. It has also allowed individuals from different parts of the world to connect through shared interests, whether it's through social media, international organizations, or global movements. I believe people can now collaborate across borders, creating a sense of a global community. At the same time, globalization has fostered a more inclusive local community and has let people be more aware of global issues that are going on around the world, such as climate change, human rights, and economic inequality. And I believe this awareness has encouraged a collective action from both the local and the global levels, utilizing people and uniting them to address the efforts of common interest. Um, so that's all I have to say to answer these questions. I really enjoyed answering these, and I look forward to hearing back from you guys in the future. Thank you. Bye.